Hey guys, taking a break from the nonfiction I've been releasing to release a romance novel review. These oftentimes don't come unless I read a book that I think I have something to talk about. I've read a lot of these. I did my tier ranking video on all the historical romances that I've read, and I've read so many contemporary romances that there's a part of me that kind of wants to do the same thing, but maybe I will save you from that. But I've been doing more of these, been reading a lot of these, and I just finished one that I felt like I had to talk to you about because something happens in it that drives me insane. The book, though, does not drive me insane, but it's just like one of those things that I feel like crops up in romance novels a lot, and I wanted to talk about it. So a little bit of book, a little bit of romance novel discussion. That's where we're headed. So the book in question is shipped by Angie Hockman. This is a fairly new release, standalone romance novel. The story with this one is that the female main character, her name is Henley, and then there is a male romantic opposite named Graham, and they both work in the marketing department of a cruise line. Not like, Caribbean, Royal Caribbean or something like that, like one of the smaller cruise lines that does smaller, more intimate cruises, I suppose. I'm sure those exist. I've never been on one. Anyway, Henley is getting her MBA. She's very career focused, and she is gunning for top billing. Like, her career is super important to her. She wants to be like a director by 35 or something on the board of directors. So her head is in the game, and that's her entire life. So it's another one of those, she's a workaholic. This is a very common trend in romance novels. Graham is the social media marketing person for the team, and he works remotely. So while Henley is in the office all day, putting her nose to the grindstone, dealing with their kind of awful office manager and bosses, Graham is not there. So they have never met in person. They have only ever talked over the phone. And Henley hates Graham because, like, one of his first days in the office, Henley and Graham had talked about this social media campaign special thing to like get some numbers up for one of their cruises, and their boss gave Graham the credit because it came out on social media and did so well, and Graham said thank you. He did not mention Henley at all, and she was not having it. So Graham is her mortal enemy. You can begin to see where this is going. So in order to prop up and better market one of their cruises, their boss sends both Henley and Graham out on one of their cruises to the Galapagos Islands. I loved this. I have always wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands, and Angie Hockman does this amazing thing where this book is very ecologically focused on the issues in the Galapagos ecosystem. It's one of the most unique ecosystems on the planet. It's very special, and there is an element to eco-activism in this book that I did not expect, and I didn't want to lose that. It was fantastic. So it's not like heavy-handed or anything, but if that is something you enjoy, it appeared and I did not expect it, and there was more in the author's note at the end as well. So this is clearly something that Angie Hockman feels very passionate about and was awesome. Also accompanying Graham and Henley on this cruise is Henley's younger sister. She's a bit of a flighty person. She's been unable to hold down a job. So she's the exact opposite of Henley, and Henley thinks that it's gonna kind of be like babysitting, but she brings her along to get the millennial perspective and to connect with her sister more after her sister randomly moves out of her apartment that she shares with a boyfriend and comes to live with Henley because something has gone wrong. What has gone wrong is not revealed until later in the novel, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's also that wrinkle. So once I told you that Henley and Graham are the romantic leads in this and they are mortal enemies, I'm sure you already guessed that this is a enemies to lovers trope novel, which are my favorite. I quite like them, and I enjoy watching two characters who think they hate each other realize that they actually don't. This is also sometimes hard to do well because sometimes a character or both of the characters actually just have traits that like should not be apologized for. And so having two decent people hate each other, for like wrong reasons can be difficult to juggle, and then you still want to feel something for these characters. I feel like this novel did it really well, to the extent that Graham does not see Henley as an enemy. Henley has made assumptions about Graham, and that's the way that she sees them. And so he shows up and he's like, I'm so ready to work with you. And Henley's like, die. So he's very confused. So that worked out. Obviously, there's a lot of miscommunication, non-communication. Again, a staple of romance novels. So here is the thing that drives me a little bit nutty. There are romance novels who very, very well do this thing where both the people in the pair have issues and they work through those issues with each other. And I think that's one of the things that makes a really awesome romance novel, is seeing two people help each other and fall in love and, you know, begin to form that partnership. And this novel does something really weird where they are not on the same moment in that path. Graham has recently had a lot of things happen in his life. He left a major job at Ford in their marketing department because his mother had died, and he was, you know, kind of just took the job at the cruise company to work remote so he could kind of be a hermit. And you know, he's been working on this process of self-discovery already, whereas Henley has to be told that she's a workaholic, has to have the row with her sister where her sister says, well, you think of me as a total flake, but at least I'm out there living my life and you don't have a life, and there's that whole thing. And there are a couple of times when Henley specifically says to Graham, you know, don't be my white knight. I can take care of myself. And yet every time she does that, like it happens again where something happens and Graham steps up and is her white knight. Now I understand that this book is trying to say that sometimes you can accept help. It is not weakness to do so, but it never carries it off like that. And it ends up being like a book where Henley just keeps saying, I can do this on my own. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man. And then Graham's like, and then he steps in and just fixes it for her. And then Henley is mad and they fight about it. But you're just like, you can't, I mean, trust me, I feel the desire to be a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, but like, it never comes off in exactly the right way. And this for me was the major thing that kept this from being really even a 4-star book. I'd put it at about 3.5 because again, there is nuance in between, and I understand that, but this book just never got all the way there and then kept repeating the process like 2 or 3 times. And I was like, doing it again doesn't make it better. It's very weird. And it might just be that this idea of books that present strong women who need to be softened by men is like a huge pet peeve for me. And I'm not saying that that was the point of this book. The whole last act of it really is about Henley standing up for herself and taking control of her life in a way that was a little bit over the top, but really fantastic. So not that that is what this book ends up saying at all, but it's a pet peeve of mine in books, and there are definitely books that do that, where they introduce the female character who's a workaholic and the guy who's a rake, and he's got to be reformed and she's got to be softer. And it's just like, just because women enjoy their jobs does not mean that they are automatically workaholics. Like, it seems like there's very few in-betweens for romance novel characters. They either like don't know what they're doing with their life, or their life is too controlled and too centered. And maybe that's also just because of the nature of certain romance tropes, but it drives me nuts. I'm not going to keep going on this. It's not that important. But I wanted to put that into this review as a reason where I loved this book. I loved the ecological bent. I loved the setting. I thought the characters were fun, but it just touched off a pet peeve. So while I give it 3.5 stars, take it with a grain of salt unless this is also your pet peeve, and then just be prepared for it. That is my warning for you. Again, the ending also contributes to that rating because it takes there's like the successful thing with the job, and then it goes like this high. Like, it was a little bit over the top. I'm not gonna wreck it for you. It was pretty great though. Pretty great show of girl power and force. But I was like, we didn't have to go like here. You could have been here. But again, I've said this before, maybe looking for believability in my romance novels is a terrible mistake. But I continue to dream. So that is my review of Angie Hockman's Shipped. If you have already read it, let me know down in the comments if it's on your radar, if this also peeves you, if it doesn't. Is there something else that peeves you? I feel like romance, there are a lot of things that peeve me, but I keep reading it because I'm just like, oh, happy endings. And I feel like we could all just use a plethora of happy endings in our lives, because life. 2021. I hope you guys are doing well, being safe, and if romance isn't your thing, I hope you are finding whatever makes you happy in whatever genre that may be. So have a great rest of your week, guys. Bye.